Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The woman with the fox, is it a fox you've got on? Yeah, fox, yes.
Very striking.
Fox, yes.
I understand that because the main argument for leaving the EU was immigration, actually. And I understand, immigration, they like to make out that immigration can be a bad thing. But at the same time, I don't see why we as people seem to have a fear over immigrants, because at the end of the day, I feel like we are all people, we are all human, and we all do need to support each other. And I don't feel like we should just, get out of the EU just because of the simple factor that, they're coming into our country, they're stealing our jobs, they're getting our benefits. Because I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, if you went up to the average immigrant in the street in Llangollen and said, why are you here? They won't go up to steal your job, to get your NHS, to take your benefits and so on.
And I'll take a point from you, and then I'll come to Colin Jones. Yes.
I just wanted to say that these, I agree totally with you. We're calling them immigrants. They're actually human beings, just like the rest of us, and they're very desperate human beings. They're leaving everything they know, their homes. They've got nothing with them sometimes, no possessions. They're desperate. If we were in a situation of such desperation, we would want someone to help us.
But you're not talking about Brexit being a factor in this, leaving the European Union. You're talking about Syrian refugees,
I think the
Afghanistani refugees.
two things are separate.
Yeah.
I think that we're mixing immigrations with exiting Europe. How can we possibly, as members of the public, make a decision about whether we stay in or leave Europe when we're given so little information about Europe? It's turned into a political game. Go anywhere else in Europe, they have trips to go into the European Parliament, they go in to see public debates. Things are televised, they're on the news. Here we hear nothing about ordinary debates in Europe, what's going on, and we're asked to suddenly make a decision.
Carmen Jones, do you agree with that point?
I think there is a lot of misinformation about Europe, and I think a lot of the media in London, some of the newspapers, well, they border on fantasy in terms of some of the things that they say. But it's an important issue, and it deserves to have an important debate. One of the things I regret is that the referendum is going to be 6 weeks after our election in Wales. And really, we should have a proper debate about this, not have an election in the middle of it. And I regret that. I think it doesn't help either side. The question is about immigration, though. Let me try and take some of the heat out of this. Every single person in this room and every single person watching tonight is the descendant of an immigrant. It all depends when your family came. All my family are Welsh, but I got blue eyes. That means at some point somebody in my family lived near the Caspian Sea in Asia. So my family came here. Welsh as a language has its roots in Sanskrit. Where do we draw the line? So we have to bear that in mind. Now, I know for most people it's a really difficult issue. People are afraid of immigration and what it might mean for them and their jobs, and I understand that. It tugs at the heartstrings. We see people at the borders of Europe, we see children who've lost their lives. We know those people who are coming are not doing it lightly. They've seen their relatives killed in front of them. They've seen members of their family butchered. But we also know we can't accommodate everybody in Europe. But the point is, this is a European issue that needs a European solution. To think that the UK can bury its head in the sand and hope that it all goes away just isn't going to work. And the other thing that people think is that if you leave the EU, you control immigration. Well, let me give you two things to ponder on. First of all, Switzerland isn't a member of the EU. Its immigration rate is more than double that of the UK. More than double. It's not part of the EU. Secondly, if we leave the EU, we suddenly have a land border with the EU in Ireland. A border that can't be policed. So you can't actually control immigration unless you have cooperation from at least one other country. And that would have to be the Republic of Ireland. So we have to think carefully about what this means. Some people think that Britain's an island. Britain's not an island. There's a border with the Republic of Ireland. And we have to think carefully about how that border then would actually work in European terms. So for me, immigration is a European issue that needs a European solution rather than what we see at the moment, which is a lot of hot air, a lot of people who are having things thrown at them that are just pure scaremongering. Let's act as human beings and be rational about helping other people, yes, but also understanding that, in fact, with immigration, the EU actually doesn't affect the level of immigration. Switzerland's an example of that.
No, it doesn't. I mean, please.
The woman there in yellow. Hold on, Nigel. The woman there in yellow.
I just wanted to pick up on the lady's point there, that Brexit is not just about immigration. That's a small part of it in my mind. Yeah. And whereas I'm not 100% that this was funded by EU money, it probably was, but we don't need theatres and art centres. What we need is investment in industry to create jobs in a deprived area. We need factories, not art galleries, ice rinks. So if we came out of Europe, instead of spending millions of pounds paying into a project to flatter us with lovely theatres, could that money not be used to encourage industry, global companies, to come and build their factories in Wales?
And I'll take one more point. The man in the grey there. Man in grey there.
Do that.
Yeah. Yes, you.
Why is it only Mr Farage mentions controlled immigration?
Quite. Because that was the question.
It has to be controlled. It'll get out of hand.
That was the question, sir, wasn't it? You know, does Brexit allow us to control immigration? The answer is it's the only way of controlling immigration, and the rest of the panel have danced around the issue and ignored the question.
Was this wrong?
Go on. What do you want to say? Yeah.
I see it every week in this programme. We always on about houses and our health service and schools being pushed, but then we allow everyone in. So it has to be controlled. It'll get out of hand. It's only a matter of time.
The problem is that, you know, Nigel is right to talk about controlling immigration, and nobody's got a problem with that. It's the nature of the debate that I find so distasteful. You get to a point where every single symptom of your frustrations of everyday life are blamed on immigrants. You're in a bookshop and it's busy. Oh my God, we've let too many of them in. This is a nightmare.
And it's like the M4.
Well, actually, with a population that's risen as much as ours has, congestion is a very real problem in this country. Obviously, obviously.
But the problem is not the problem of controlling immigration. That's not the issue. The issue is the way that debate is held engenders a distrust amongst our population.
So,
and it's
Ramesh, can I just get this absolutely clear? I want to go on to one last question, but are you saying that Nigel is right to say that Brexit will control immigration? It's fair to say that. It's just the way it's put you don't like.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that Brexit's the only way to control immigration. I'm not saying
that. But you do believe immigration.
But I do believe that uncontrolled immigration is a bad thing. I do believe that. I just think the nature of it is just the problem.
Okay. We've got a few minutes left, and I want to take a question from Myra Arthurs, please. Myra Arthurs, you happen to be sitting next to the person who asked the last question.
Should MPs pay rise faster than nurses and teachers?
Should MPs' pay rise faster than nurses and teachers? And we've got the Welsh Assembly members are getting a £10,000 wage rise this year, bringing them up. I might make it 18% up to 64,000. Is that right?
It is.
It is. Is it right?
No. The problem we have, it's still less than MEPs and MPs, but that's not the point. The point is that it's not going to wash with people where you have an increase like that. The problem we have is at one time we used to vote on our own pay increases. Now, nobody wants to do that. So we created a system where an independent panel then suggested what the pay increase should be. Now, I don't think it works. And
what do you do about it?
Well, personally, what I'd like to do is simply... Well, what I'd like to do is simply say we have a system where our pay increases are pegged to... Could be teachers, could be nurses, could be doctors. It just takes the heat out of it, and we don't have a situation where we have these... We have nothing for 4 years.
So what are you going to do with the 10 grand?
Well, the problem I've got is... It arrives anyway.
It arrives.
And I will continue, as I've always done, to give a substantial amount of that to charity. I always have done.
Oh, I see.
It's one of the things that... I don't make a song and dance about it, but you asked me the question, that's the answer.
You mentioned it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't, not a song and a dance, but a mention. Liam Wood. Come on, we have to whiz along here because we've only got 2 or 3 minutes left.
I don't think people can accept politicians' pay rising as fast as it has, and I've said that I will not take the £10,000 pay rise. No, I'm not going to give it to charity. I'm not going to take it, just as I didn't take the £23,000 a year salary increase that I was entitled to when I became the leader of my party. Because in these times when people are facing cuts, when we're losing public services, we're losing our libraries, when so many people are reliant upon food banks in 2016, that is what people cannot accept then when politicians take huge
You in the middle there, in the blue, yes, in the blue shirt. What's your view?
So are any of you going to give it back?
Well, she's not taking it.
But, oh, sorry, not just you, but in the grand scheme of MPs, you're all going to accept it and go, oh, yeah, extra
Stephen
money.
Crabb,
great.
you had a 10% rise MPs last year, didn't you?
The problem with MPs' pay now is we took the correct decision to hand it over to an independent body to take the hands of MPs away from voting on their own salaries. So it's an independent body who make the decisions about salary and pensions for MPs. Now, what that removes as well is any mechanism for an MP to say, sorry, I don't want that pay increase. There isn't the kind of the mechanism in the way that the salary is paid to actually say no.
Leanne says she refused to take money.
Can I just answer the gentleman?
I haven't flipped my
It gets you
housing-
angry.
I haven't flipped my home
Can
either.
I just answer the gentleman's question?
Hang on. The First Minister of Wales says... The First Minister of Wales says you get paid anyway. You can't not be paid.
What the situation will be after the next election,
Right.
the money will be paid anyway. That's my understanding of it.
Right.
I don't like it. I mean, I'm not going to defend
Okay,
it. I
so-
don't like the idea of a massive pay increase like that.
I'm amazed that two Assembly members don't know how they're paid.
Well, that's what I've been told.
Well, let's just take Nigel Farage's view.
Well, I'm paid in euros as an MEP.
So your pay's going up then?
And as my foreign exchange trading expert on my right will explain to you, as the pound has fallen, my euros are now buying more pounds. So my pay's just gone up. My pay fluctuates. I think the question was actually about
Nurses and teachers,
and
we've
was
got
it
30
right?
seconds left.
Was it right? And actually, I think Parliament doesn't regulate our steel industry, as we've discussed tonight, doesn't regulate our banking industry, our fishing industry. I think we should cut MPs' pay, unless we get Brexit, and then we'll pay them even more, because then they'll be running the country.
Ramesh. Very briefly, if you would.
Let's be absolutely honest here. They've got to pretend to be awkward about it, but they're loving it. That's the honest truth, you know.
OK. Very, very briefly in the fourth row there. Just 1-2 words, if you would.
OK. I think that it's disgusting in a time of food banks and austerity that only one politician on the panel is willing to turn down their pay rise. I think everyone on the panel, apart from the comedian, should do it.
All right. He's free, is he? All
He's earning the big buck.
We've got to stop there. I wish we could go on. I'm sorry to those who have your hands up.
I've been getting away with it all